How's it going, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to an unexpected second episode. Sitting here with Ari, the Shark Chamis Manny. To be fully transparent with you, we kind of didn't anticipate doing this to this extent. We have quite a janky setup, which I am showing on screen right now. I hope, if I remember to edit. And yeah, it may not be the best podcast you've ever seen, but we're out here trying.
Are we getting all the elements of my kitchen in the background?
We get that really nice plant, maybe that bag of brown rice.
What about the spoons?
We get your dishwasher, and I think that people need to know that you're living large.
Okay, good.
So,
as long as they know that I have a dishwasher.
This is a man who has never washed a dish with his hands in his life.
Oh, come on now. Come on.
We know.
Now. You remember Gel Lab.
What's the square footage on this place? It's like 2,500 square feet?
It's too big.
It's too big. We'll do a walk around later, maybe.
Cribs.
But you may notice that it also looks very different than the other time because now we're shooting this at night because we are going to go to Gel Lab in like 2 hours. So we got to get jamming.
Yeah, we got a lot of ground to cover. We have to cover the whole thing in an hour, huh?
We don't know if we're going to do another episode. We're just going to see how far we can get in this one.
You don't want to do a triple threat, dude.
Third time charm. If it comes to that, that's fine. But let's see how far
Let's see how far
today.
we can go.
Anyways, we've been rambling about basically nothing for a second here. If I recall correctly, we left off of when you met the Loaded crew at the time of Kyle Chin, Adam Colton, Adam Sikowski, when you were at the Boeing garage. Met Dusty, you got linked up, you got sponsored.
It was by like sheer happenstance that we ran into everybody from that crew, that we were out that day, and that like we just happened to be on the top of that parking garage.
You could say it's fate.
It was awesome. I love that happened, because then it was like we had now the connection to. I mean, that was the catalyst, I think, for all of it. After meeting Adam gave me this prototype Bongra, or he said he was going to give me this board. I didn't really think, yeah, okay, some dude's going to give you a board. Yeah, right.
But he handed it to you.
He
like
actually
then and there.
gave me this board.
That could have been one of those bongers that was in that destruction durability test. I don't know.
I destroyed it. There's a photo of it, of me. There's like an actual frame by frame. I like finger flipped off this like weird dock thing.
Oh, I think I've actually seen that series of photos before.
Yeah, and I landed on it, and it just totally exploded. But I rolled away from that trick, but the board didn't. And all that heritage just snapped along with it. I mean,
you were in the new position of being able to get a new one.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, I was kind of, I was like I was ready for that board to break so that I could actually maybe, that was one of the first times I had flexed the let me get a new board thing. I'm sponkered.
That was your only loaded board at the time? Like this prototype, not even released board?
Well, at the Downhill Disco, so that was like our inauguration,
right.
Like basically Downhill Disco, Dusty had shown up. We were told to go to the Downhill Disco and to meet Dustin Hampton at the Downhill Disco. And we were already kind of like floating, we were like, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening. No way. It hadn't fully kind of set in. It was like, okay, maybe this is just, these guys are just going to give us, like I said, like a set of wheels or like something kind of like, hey,
this one-off deck.
Hey, go and support the team, buddy. And a pat on the back, high five, and like get in there. I mean, even that would have been, oh my God, I'll take that, man. That's so dope.
Man. When you're like having to buy your own stuff or get it wherever you can.
Completely.
Like, getting something for free from like a brand is like, oh my God,
truly.
This is it. This is where I've tipped.
But I didn't want to get my hopes up and expect too much. I was more just excited to kind of be conversing with these people.
You speak as if you're a person who's had their heart broken before.
I don't know if it was like heartbroken more so than we had just Okay, so we had just started, Trevor and I had worked out this thing where I had just started riding for Jati.
Jotty. Oh, Jotty.
You remember
Okay.
Jati
Yeah.
boards? They're like
I always
East
thought
Coast.
it was Hottie boards. It just seemed exotic. So
I don't maybe
that's me reading it. I was living in Peru at the time, so
Jati.
yeah.
The guy had just come onto the scene and was just making a bunch of he had a really cool lineup of boards, and I started riding for them, and I hadn't started riding for them. I reached out to them and I was like, hey, I really like riding your boards. Maybe you would, here's a video of, and the video's still on Vimeo. And Trevor and I went and shot we went and found this really crazy hill in I think it was Elysian Park or something, and back in this neighborhood, and him and I just bombed it together, and it's just this like really short, I think a minute long clip of us like going down this really steep hill, and we sent that to him, and the guy wrote back and he said, yeah, I'm going to send you a bunch of decks.
He saw this as an opportunity. Here's some guys with some terrain.
I think it was more that like at that time, like people who were riding in the SoCal scene had started to develop a bit of a reputation just for being like, or at least not even SoCal, but like West Coast California. Oh, yeah. It was like, that's where like stand-up slides were happening. This was kind of the tip of the spear in regards to like, I think, advanced free ride
of like pushing the limits, because I remember seeing videos coming from like Cathlamet Downhill and Vancouver and stuff, and like these guys are unreal. Like, what is in the water?
It was either Canada, or it was like West Coast, at least within the United States.
Right.
It was like the Southern California. There was like Oregon. I know there was like basically Seattle.
There was NorCal. Like,
well, Oman had just were just doing their thing.
Okay, it was that era. Yeah. All right. So yeah, I was pretty active in Oregon at that time.
I just remember Oman had that board that they released. That was a carbon fiber like free ride.
The Carbon Matrix.
You know what I'm talking about,
yeah,
right?
They did that ad where like they poured cereal into the concave and then poured milk.
Yes, yes,
to
right.
show like 3D dropped concave.
It was so cool looking. Everybody wanted that board, dude. That was like the first carbon free ride board.
I think it was like $300 at the time, which these days is like, well, that's kind of normal. Like
now it's kind of accepted, but back then it was like,
dude, 300 bones.
What the
for
hell,
a deck?
dude? There was another company called Insect Longboards. Do you remember?
I remember Insect, but they started fading into obscurity.
They were already yeah, they were already on their way out. There was a few other companies. There was, what was that? Who's the rider who was actually an Otang rider? He was a racer. He wore black and like neon.
Alex Tong.
What was his company? It was like a board. It was like
Stock It.
That's right. And
but that was like, this was like 2012 when
was
Stock
that
It
later?
Came out.
They were making a carbon fiber board. It was made from like corn husks.
Yeah, exactly. Like
something.
The epoxy or something was like corn based. Like
yeah.
subsidized by the government, basically.
Yeah,
and I remember him rolling up and he had like a whole entourage of like dudes in like pit crew outfits almost, because they had like a actual race team for like cars.
I mean, he looked really professional. His whole setup was really dialed all the time.
It was sick.
And all the photos I remember.
His leathers were like so clean.
I think that was kind of part of it. You had to look the part too, right? If your setup was clean looking and you were like had the money to actually just like go out and participate in the events,
why not look your best?
That was it, dude.
I didn't obey that philosophy, but I mean, I respected those that could.
I think that was the beauty of a lot of the like original loaded dudes was like you'd go to these events and like you'd see all these other teams that all had these like matching this or that, but like the only way you could really tell that the guy that like tell the pro riders from loaded and orangutan from everyone else was mostly because of just those orange wheels.
Right. I mean, they were such a focal point.
You're like, oh, okay, that guy must be. But like the rider usually was some indescript like t-shirt, cargo shorts, like person, kid.
I think there was actually like a pamphlet that was handed out to ambassadors at the time. It was like, this is the mandatory uniform. You wear the brown, dark, neutral cargo shorts.
It was so
and the blue
like
Otang shirt.
Indescript, yeah, and the blue Otang shirt
and
with the circle on the side.
Knee pads recommended, but helmet required.
It was so like that was the only thing that like really.
Oh yeah, I mean, I fell into that.
that really, I think, like defined the team riders.
I'm gonna bring it back. I'm gonna bring back.
They were so
cargo
into
shorts.
script, but then that the skill usually would show because like all the loaded dudes usually had this element of uniqueness to their style that would just be like, what the hell was that, dude?
Yeah, I remember there was always like
There was
some
a-
sort of quirkiness to him.
It was like flat top. Like, do you remember flat top?
I very much remember flat top.
Can't like I can't forget that guy because he was one of the like, again, one of those Genesis riders that like when we were watching videos, we were watching his skateboarding and we would just be like, what the hell was that?
Yeah.
What the F was that, dude?
I mean, the flat top trick to me was like, cool. This is the answer to can you ollie? Like, I don't need a ollie, bro.
Bro, he did.
I can
like,
just do a flat top up of
he
whatever.
He was like he did this one thing. He did this one-footed nose manual to he would just ride it in a circle until he would get to the like the fulcrum of his like little spiral on his one foot with he would tuck his foot behind the other and
Right.
1 foot nose manual until he'd get to the middle and then he would just start spinning and then he would jump and do like a basically what was that James Kelly was doing him
double rainbow.
out of it where it was like a shove it
The
body
opposite way and then spin the
varial,
body the other
and then
way.
he'd
Yeah.
land it, and he'd be like, "Haha, cool guys, yeah, man," and you'd just be like, like your eyes are melting out of your head, and he's like, "Hey, man, you guys know where like the bathroom is or anything?"
Every time I do that, I gotta take a dump.
I
I
mean,
don't know what it is about that trick.
what
but,
was the
like-
trick he had? He had the video in UCLA where he's just black.
School's out.
School's out, and he's doing his signature trick, the sledgehammer, where he grabs the deck and he whips it over the top of his head and throws it.
Oh yeah, dude.
But he
I
would
remember
jump
that
off
one.
like 7 stairs and do this move, and you're like,
huge.
"What in the F was that? Like, what is that?"
I
Like,
remember trying to do that and hitting myself in the head. I was like, I'm gonna skip
so
that.
many times I tried to do that trick, and like, just either just ended up throwing my board, or would like just almost take my head off or something with my deck. But it was the coolest looking trick. I still haven't seen anybody like that. I think that era of like experimentation and flow has kind of. It's changed now.
Yeah, I don't want to say that people aren't out there
No,
pushing the limit.
truly,
because they definitely are.
I mean, Lotfi, I mean, Jeff, you go anywhere in Europe
I mean,
and
you
see.
look at any videos where the caption is in Korean. You have no idea what it's saying and stuff, but you see what
and
they're doing. It's mind-blowing.
they're doing the craziest stuff, man. So I'm thinking but back then it was just exciting to see that kind of those things because like outside of maybe like a weird Adam and Adam video, you hadn't seen anything like that on a big board. I hadn't.
No, I definitely hadn't. Because at the time, like people where I was were still kind of riding off of like the late 90s gravity games or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, like X Games did a couple downhill
It
events.
was like, let me try and do a kickflip on my longboard. You know what I mean?
Right, yeah,
like
yeah.
that was like the kind of like everybody was trying to, can you even ollie your longboard? You know, it was.
I remember getting asked that because I was riding my longboard at a skate park and I did a flat top. And to my surprise, they were like, okay, that was actually pretty cool. And I was like, I did it. I impressed the street skaters. Therefore, I'm in.
Dude,
I'm
it was
good.
like him and
validation.
him and like Max Watson. I mean,
Yeah, Max was, RIP to Max.
R.I.P. Max, but
miss Max.
missing in action. You know, maybe he just surfed off into the sunset, dude.
One can hope, you know.
You know, and
Yeah.
he's living like Pablo Escobar down in Colombia or something. You
Right.
know,
I
wearing all white like linen.
If there's one person I know that could live off the land, it would be Max Watson. But I mean, anyways, well, let's backtrack a bit.
His moves are very good.
Let's backtrack a bit. So, you know, there's all these amazing riders
Sure,
that
I'm
were
sorry.
being indoctrinated to the Loaded Ambassador team, and then you come on. I mean, where did you feel you?
I don't know where
carved out
I didn't know where I fit in all of that, dude. I was like, oh my god, really? Like, how do I measure? Like, look, we got flat top over here coming up with his own moves. We got like there's like Max Watson doing varials, like full on 360 varials on a dervish without kicks on it.
Well, I mean, to your credit, though, I remember I joined the team and I saw some ambassador video that was released on the ambassador channel at the time. That was you, and it was always very far away. But you were just on this like very subtle hill, and you were just dancing like crazy. I think it was on the Dervish at the time.
I know the video is called Lawnmower.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. And I remember seeing that and being like, this dude, like, I can't tell how tall he is. The camera's so far away, but like,
My dad shot
like,
that.
This
dude.
guy is like going, really? I remember appreciating the speed that you were doing the dancing.
My dad was like, as like, cinematographer, bless his heart. He's like, he's so into these like scenic landscape shots and these like beautiful, like it's more about the environment of the photo, and he's this Iranian man, so he's very poetic in his scenic shots and stuff. I'm like, Dad, this is a skate video, dude. I need you to get in there, dude.
You should be able to smell my pants in this video.
Okay, let me frame it, and it will look so nice. And
you would look more beautiful with flowers in your hair.
Dad, you need to understand, I need action, bro. Like, you really not.
Ari, we are going to do this like voyeur Italian
Punch
films.
in, dude. Punch in. Get the action. I'm showing him like videos of like Adam and Adam videos, like full on, like these dudes are following each other,
right.
And I'm like trying to get this with a static shot, like the same amount of action.
Props to your dad. I mean, it looked like it was the middle of summer, and your dad was just out there.
Just punch in, and he's standing in the middle of the road. Like, am I okay? Like, there's no cars gonna come up behind me or anything, right? This is like Malibu, and like people in Malibu are already like, drive like crazy people.
Right.
So.
You do have to look over your shoulder if you're just standing in the road.
Yeah, there's gonna be some guy on like a Ducati coming up your ass.
Well, so anyways, I remember that video, and it left an impression on me. Because I was like, cool,
Right.
This guy is incorporating like, dancing like on a hill, like moving fast, like letting gravity do a lot of the work so he can kind of focus on expressing.
Yeah, that was the kind of cool thing. I thought that
his
like
moves.
I don't know. I always saw a lot of the dancing and stuff was always happening on flat ground. People get like 3 pushes in, do some cross steps, and
another 3 pushes.
But I thought that it was kind of cool that if like, okay, wait, maybe if we take this to like a slight incline, it's like manageable.
Yeah, that hill was very manageable looking.
And then just kind of work it. You can actually do some cool stuff on a hill. And then it was like, oh, dude, I think there's something here. You know what I mean? That's when it was like, oh, shoot, let me try and adopt some of these moves to more of an incline free ride kind of domain. And yeah, that's how the style started developing into like more of like, at least my direction, my concentration of like how I was interacting with the skateboard was going more in a direction of like hybridized skateboarding, where it was like not just flat ground, but like seeing how I could maybe push that a little more so it smears into some free ride or light downhill. Because again, it was like in the last episode, we were talking about how much like experimentation and, discovery was happening within our circles in terms of like incline. At the time it was all about
what could you do at speed?
It was all about going fast.
Right.
Like here we have this element of danger, this element of like risk. How can you show yourself, express yourself in this medium
scene,
of
this
medium of complete self-destruction.
Right.
So yeah.
And I found that super interesting, man. Like, I always did my dancing flat, like in a plaza or wherever, because that's where it was shown.
Sure.
And then I remember seeing that video and then being like, oh man, yeah, I live in Oregon. Like there's plenty of like little dinky hills around here. And just being able to not have to worry about pushing and finding ways to manage your speed as you're dancing, because you pick up some speed, so you throw in a slide. Oh, what if you did a slide like into a cross step and then like untwisted and it did another slide or something?
Well, you started seeing that kind of stuff. Like, again, it was like guys like Dustin Hampton were influential for me in terms of like stacking combos.
Right.
He was like one of these guys, and I'd watch him free ride, that I'd watch him like link different slides together into like a series of slides. It wasn't just like one move and then,
and then done.
Yeah. He would like stack different tricks together. And he was also doing this stuff at the time. Dusty was developing the early Fattail at the time. And
Your previous Hallmark board, I mean, you adopted it basically.
yeah, I
'Cause
adopted
it didn't seem like anyone else would.
I adopted it much later, though. When I first
Right.
was introduced to the Fattail, I thought that thing was stupid, dude.
I remember when I got sent one by Darren, the team manager at the time. He's like, "Hey man, if you could do something on this," I wrote it for a bit. I was like, "It's kind of fun, but it's not my style."
No,
But I
dude.
always appreciated the way it looked. Shout out to Don Tashman for that grip tape job.
That-
Definitely the best grip tape job of any of our boards ever.
The cat. I didn't know he did that grip tape.
He did, and he's gonna be blushing right now that I said that, and like a dozen people have heard me say that. All the people watching this.
That.
Hold up. Can we hit pause? Can you
Oh
check
yeah,
that
let
camera?
me check.
Yeah.
Hold on.
So full disclosure, the camera that we're shooting on, Ari's old 7D, caps out at 12 minutes of recording. So anytime that I'm speaking and I cut to me, I'll just put a random picture, whatever it may be. Anyways,
It's vintage, dude.
it's OG, man. Let Go
vintage.
was shot on a camera just like that.
It's vintage.
And
we're doing it
and
for
it's
the
making
look.
me look like this.
We wanted to do it for the look, you know.
Ari looks amazing because I'm shooting him on my Sony, so I
just-
give him all the star power. Well,
We need a
I'm
little
looking
bit
like
of
2012.
vintage spice, so we went specifically with the 7D from the 2000s era.
We didn't want to spend money to rent a camera. Like, that's honestly what it is.
Hey
Like,
man, that's skateboarding, okay? Just
it truly
you,
is.
you have to if the
Nickel and dime
if
where
the
you can.
DIY isn't there, it ain't skateboarding, man.
That is definitely true. Anyways, we left off. Ari was talking about
What were
he
we
got
talking
on the
about?
Fattail because Dusty had been working on it, and
Yeah, the
little
first time-
was known to many people that Dusty was blasting tuna on a flexy
He
ass
was
Fattail
on the
on the which actually we can't talk about those.
we can't talk about them at
In
all.
fact, I'm censoring the word right now.
It's gonna be like
It's gonna be like
it's just gonna bleep out.
just like that.
Wow.
I'm doing this for you, Donnie. But anyway, Dusty, I remember sending it on the
like
on the Fattail down tuna on the boots, and it
You
was like a
guys
Flex
just-
3.
You guys just Stalined those wheels out of existence, dude.
Don't even know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's just
It's
you
gone.
like scraped their photos out of pictures.
We've
and
moved past it. Anyways, Dusty
Okay.
Hampton,
Yes.
super cool. Skating tuna on a Flex 3 Fattail, saying the Flex gives him more concave, which I think he was just describing as rocker, but whatever, the dude was a god.
I just remember him like skating wheels down to the bearings.
That was like a trophy thing to do.
It was.
I remember going to Giant's Head and everyone would do that.
So dope, dude. And I just remember Dusty on a Fattail. That's where he did all of his. I mean, he still does all of his prototyping on tuna. It's like if it can hang on Tuna Canyon, then you know it's tested on this road that is breakneck.
Oh, that's 100% true.
But he was on a Fattail Flex 1, and I remember he was doing
a Flex 3, but whatever. Dusty will fact check us.
He'll fact check us. It was the stiff one because he was using it to bomb down tuna, like to free ride down tuna, and it was insane. It was insane. I thought he was crazy.
What? I mean, you thought that board was ugly. I thought it looked great, but it just
I
wasn't my
rode
style.
it. I rode it. I remember the first time I actually got it under my feet. Dusty brought it to. We used to do these gel lab sessions at this cul-de-sac in Calabasas. It was just this big free ride hill in Calabasas.
I remember that.
It was great. It was just a fantastic incline. It was perfect for learning big stand-up slides, and that was right around the time that like everybody we were talking about the stone ground wheels in the last one.
Right.
Those wheels had just dropped. Everybody was riding like round lip wheels at the time. Like the revolution of slides had really kicked in full swing. Everybody was trying to do big stand-up slides. I mean, like 70-foot stand-up slides. Like it was,
I think 30 foot.
Dude.
Probably.
there were like, we were measuring it because you could go down that hill, you could bomb down that hill, and people were doing like 50 foot. It was like the average.
Okay.
Because
no, I believe that
you
because
could see
SoCal,
the
you guys would be going
Thane
that far.
lines. It was like it was like those the Grom trio. There was a Sam. Do you remember that kid? There was
Sam, Ian, Corey.
and Corey, dude. Corey, yeah. That trio, those kids were they were like the Malibu Groms.
I remember that.
And those kids were gnarly,
Those
dude.
kids were way too well. They like lived in Topanga, so they just had
The Topanga Groms. That was
they
it.
had like the best skating terrain in their backyard.
They lived in that like network of roads that went up to Saddle Peak.
Yeah, which is like a downhill playground.
It's insane.
You have like everything you could possibly need.
There's that clip of like Camilo skating that section of, he's doing some hands down magic down like a section of their like one of their roads that goes up to their house. It was like it's like the road that goes to like used to go to Sam's house in Topanga.
If we find that clip, we'll play it right now.
He's doing like hands down, and he does like a pendy backwards, or it's insane. We'll find it.
Let's backtrack to what you were talking about. With
Anyway,
the Fattail.
I'm sorry.
We're king of tangents.
Yeah, well, whatever. We're talking about all of that stuff. We're trying to cover a lot of ground here.
So Calabasas.
Topanga kids had kind of come into the mix, and they were doing big stand-up slides, okay? But they were really into doing big stand-up slides. And I remember we had gone to Calabasas, and Dusty was doing big stand-up slides on this Fattail, dude. And I was like, what are you doing, bro? Like, I got to try this thing. And the first time I stepped on that board, immediately was like, this thing is too tall. It's way uncomfortable. There's way too much camber. This thing feels like a trampoline. I feel like I'm just going to get ejected immediately. So like, but I don't know what it came full circle later where I had definitely done a lot more dancing in Flatland and Freeride and gotten a lot more comfortable doing stuff on like the Dervish and the Tantian.
Kind of rounding out all your skills.
Yeah, and doing a lot more downhill stuff, learning to be comfortable at going like, speeds over like 40 and stuff like that. And it's just like, skating tuna for at least 4 years on the regular, trying to follow Trevor Baird was a learning, is like a master class in and of itself. Right. Is just, people won't understand the insanity. They can't. There's no way. The way that kid would connect the lines on that road was like, we're going to die, dude. We were going to die.
He was looking at it like math, dude.
I don't know how he could
geometry.
He could thread some of those corners to like where you have to. Everybody's sliding, like you're sliding to save yourself, and he's fully committed to like inside out. Hey man, inside out theory. You can actually thread all the corners. You only have to do one slide. It's like, Trevor, come on, man.
I'm not ready.
I'm not ready, dude. But like following him, and then later, like people like Dane Weber came into the picture, and like Dane had his own style of like free ride that he brought to it, and everybody was just, again, it turned into this little like power group of Otang riders. That we were just going out and we were developing the wheels.
Oh, you mean the boots?
I was trying to dance around them.
It's cool. I'm censoring it.
Just gonna bleep that shit.
Whatever. Yeah.
But yeah, we were developing free ride wheels, and we were also doing a lot of urethane. It was euphorethane development.
Yeah, you guys were doing a lot of testing. I remember I came out for one summer.
You were out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
we had the peach euphorethane flavor.
We just called it P-thane, I think, because it had a letter P on it for whatever reason.
It was divine.
And it was amazing.
It was incredible.
But it died like immediately.
Yes, right.
Yeah.
But it was so good.
It was a good death.
And then there was I remember Patrick was that's when like I actually met Patrick Switzer for the first time. He came out and was skating, did a run of tuna with us. And it was just interesting, like meeting all these people and slowly. Man,
the ambassador team at the time was like this like melting pot of all these different styles and backgrounds and people from all over the place.
So cool.
And somehow, like, there was a 99% chance success rate of everybody just kind of meshing together and being able to, like, oh, dude, I can, like, we've been friends forever, even though I met you yesterday.
It was so super nice, I think, especially being growing up in Southern California and being so close to all of it. And having a lot of people come to Loaded to visit the warehouse, and everybody would come to LA. People would come to stay at Skate House.
Right.
People would come to Skate Tuna. People would come here to visit all their sponsors. Everybody was here.
Right.
So
This was like the spot to be.
so you interfaced with so many people from around the world because they were coming here to meet their sponsors. They were coming here to interview with the magazine. They were coming here to shoot their video for the team, or like whatever, you know. So it was just really cool because like you met so many people, and you inadvertently got to just experience so many different styles, and just, you know, there was some, again, like you were saying, it was like a melting pot. You know, there were so many interesting characters from all over the world. I mean, you were skating with people from the East Coast, you were skating with people from Canada, you were skating with people from Europe.
And at that time, I feel like, you know, there still is kind of like a division in like regional styles, but back then it was like, oh, that dude's got East Coast style. You know, it's like super technical. Oh, this guy's got SoCal style. He's like big blaster, you know?
Because everybody was in their own little bubble, kind of experimenting, and then...
Oh, that's the timer to turn my camera back on. Let's do that real quick.
Just trying to test it real quick.
For now, you get a wonderful picture of whatever you're looking at, whatever this is. Look at that thing. It's beautiful. And welcome back.
I like this. This is fun,
yeah,
dude.
This is good.
The DIY podcast experience.
But yeah, so, you know, I remember that very well, and I felt very privileged being part of that like scene, you know, that team of like, man, this guy's got this crazy trick, he's got this crazy style. Well, but the Fattail was still this weird like enigma of a board to me.
I mean, if like we're tying this back specifically to the Fattail, it was like
well, because there's so many people who I'm sure bought a Fattail because of you, and we're just like, I don't get it, and I don't think that board specifically was for everyone.
Well, again, this is how it ties into like all of the ambassadors, because like, you know, you get used to skating being a loaded, you know, an ambassador specifically. You're interfacing with all these different skaters. You're going out and you're skating with all these different people, you know. And one such ambassador that came into the folds was Nick Escanar, Esamia.
Right. Shout out to Nick.
Love you, buddy.
If you bought an S1 helmet in the past,
yeah, it came from Nick.
Yeah, if you bought an S1 helmet in the past like 6-7 years,
yes.
Nick put hands on it and sent it to you, and truly. Nick is the man.
Truly.
And yeah, one of the best roommates I ever had.
Nick and I would skate a lot. We kind of bonded. I remember him and his dog
Apollo.
Great dog, dude. Him and his huge Rottweiler would drive around in this like gunmetal gray like Toyota pickup truck.
Hell yeah!
I think it was a Toyota pickup truck.
That is so Nick.
It was, and I think he'd just gotten out of the Army or the Marines.
So he was like ripped. This was sexy Nick. You got to know sexy Nick.
Kind of like just post sexy Nick. You know, there's that photo of him with the wrench.
What a shame.
You know what I'm talking about.
I gotta find that photo.
I'm gonna
text and be like, dude, can you send me that photo?
He was stacked in that photo.
He was, dude. It was
absolutely yoked. And
he looked in that photo. He looked like his own dad. It was weird.
And he's holding like a tractor wrench or something.
It was huge.
It was huge. But yes, he's Nick had just gotten out of the Marines and was like, I think he was just kind of looking for stuff to do, and he somehow got like looped into the ambassador program, and immediately his kind of mindset was like, I'm gonna bring like that level of street skating hardcore to this thing, because that's what being a street skater is. And like, now I'm a sponsored skateboarder and I gotta like
getting boards for free.
I gotta live up to that.
Gotta do
so I gotta commit. And
right.
And I remember early Nick was so gnarly, because there was like, even Adam Colton would make these comments like, yeah, but you know, he's just gonna burn himself out. You know, he's gotta be careful. It's like, you can't skate when you're broken. You know, man. And it's just like,
dang, fortune teller right there, dude. Oh.
And I remember Nick right out the gates, I took Nick out for like a little photo session. And I was like, let's get some shots so we can send to Darren, you know, to post.
Right.
Because that's what it was about. Like, if you had some stills, to get some stills on the Instagram,
which was a hard thing to do back then because phones sucked and it was hard to find a photographer.
you had to go out with a photo person, and I was doing a lot of photography stuff. I was shooting for SkateSlate at the time. I was writing for SkateSlate. I had that column in SkateSlate, which was cool. I mean, that's when I was really starting to kind of get deeper into the ambassador program and skateboarding. And
Right.
I was like going on trips, and I mean, I had done a few trips with with Loaded and Orangutan, and I had kind of gone through a few events, and I had started to meet people, and now it was like I wasn't a baby anymore. It was like I was more, an ambassador now in the mix. I remember you and I had I don't know if that was before or after Broadway Bomb.
Broadway Bomb was 2012 when I went.
I was writing for SkateSlate at the time, I think.
I think you went there to do a piece or something.
I was. Yeah. I had, because I wrote for SkateSlate for like 4 or 5 years, and I remember I was doing also their like magazine delivery and their advertising rep. So I'd go meet with all the different like distributor, all the people who were like distributing their magazines. Basically, when you'd buy a set of wheels or you'd buy a board from one of these companies, they'd throw a SkateSlate in the box when you get it, and it was kind of like a way.
Which was so sick back in the day.
Oh, you remember that?
It was so good, dude.
You'd get like a magazine with your purchase, and then it was like, oh, cool. Now, like, I can just read this thing and oogle over the culture. And then also I have this, once I'm stoked out reading this magazine, I can go get on my board and go live it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was great. But like, that was kind of like the early days of like seeding a lot of print stuff. I mean, now it's like print is on its way out. Unfortunately. I
mean, because you can get any info you need or any like
Truly,
little opinion piece from the internet or any of the various social medias out
I
there.
cherish my stack of SkateSlates. I kept every one. My first issue of SkateSlate is still in the bag, dude.
Wow. That'll never sell for money.
No.
But it's very nice to have.
But it's really nice to have that. I have that still in mint condition.
That's actually very impressive.
I don't know why I never opened it.
I always
actually
left all my SkateSlates in the bathroom and they just got tarnished.
I do know why I never opened it, but it was a weird thing that I had where I was like kind of worried that if I'd look at other people's stuff, or I would get like dismayed that like.
That says a lot about you.
I was always worried that like I was like going to get influenced by some other video or something and be like, oh, dude, that's how I'm supposed to be doing the stand-up slides. Like my stand-up slides look weird, and I'd get all mental about it. So I tried.
They do, though.
Well,
play the clip
and roll the clip.
So how does all this tie to Nick Esamia?
Anyway, I'm sorry. Yes. Long tangent.
The longest
Tangents, but whatever. I think that the thing with Nick that was interesting was that Nick was doing really gnarly skateboarding. And this is what I was trying to say. It was like, Nick was, oh my God. You can even just cut from that part where I was talking about like Adam talking.
Dude, Nick would huck.
Nick would huck it, dude. Nick would go and ollie over like handrails on a Fattail, dude. And I had never seen anybody do that ever in my life. Like,
it never made any sense to me.
I watched Nick
at all.
I watched Nick board slide down it was like an 8 or 9 stair. It was the gnarliest loading dock staircase I'd ever seen. And Nick saw it and he rolled up to it and he's like, I think I'm gonna board slide this. And I'm like, you're on a Fattail Flex 2, dude. Like, can you just chill a little bit? Like, I don't think you understand. This is longboarding, dude. Okay, this is a little different.
Yeah, we don't do that around here.
We could just do some cross steps, yeah. Or like
we'll just get a nice photo of a deep cross step.
Maybe just a hard little like slide or a check on that bank over there.
Nose manual over this flower.
Give me a G-turn on the end of that loading dock would be perfect.
Yes.
I'll get a shot. It'll be perfect.
We
move on to the next spot, man.
Yeah, we'll be good to go.
No one has to get hurt. Everything will be good. Okay, man? Just put the board down.
Back away. Please, you have so much to live for.
Come on, man. It's just like It's so early. You just got sponsored last week, dude. You sure you want to do this? Your ankles are so clean. They're like,
They're so clean.
like,
He's like, no, Semper Fi, baby.
bro, he was ready. He was so ready to send it. And I remember he brought me this like loading dock with this ugly ass 9-stair handrail with like weird kinks in it and shit. And I was like, this is horrible, dude. Like, you want to die on this hill today? And he's like, I'm going to do it. And I'm like, all right, man. If you're going to die, I will immortalize you. Like,
Let me get the shot.
let me get the shot. So I went up and I made sure I got a bunch of test shots, and he like rolled up to it a few times. And I was like, dude, this is brutal. And we can, I have the shots. We can post them. You'll see.
No, they're playing right now.
There's one, the first thing he did, he didn't board slide it first. First, he ollied over the handrail into the street to flat
Oh my
on
God.
a fat tail. And then like immediately lands to flat and like demos himself, goes like rolls. I'm like,
Oh, I thought it was going to be a happy ending.
no, dude, just, I mean, it was so gnarly. Like, he dropped like 12 feet to like flat. Dude, it was huge.
dude.
I was like, this is so hard to watch, dude. Are you sure? No, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. It's like, okay, dude. So sure enough, he lands it, like totally compresses when he hits the ground, bottoms out the fat tail, but rolls away from it. And I'm just like, what did I just witness? Like, it was just me and him. So I was just like, no one's going to believe me. Like, no one's going to believe me. They're going to think I doctored this. Like, I have the sequence, but they're going to be like, no.
There's just no way.
But there was one shot in the sequence where he's straight up over the handrail, like in the craziest like ollie position. And his ollies already are super. The way he ollies is just like, has this really unique kind of super exaggerated. His like knee comes way up. And it's just the craziest thing I've ever seen. So I'm thinking like, okay, dude, like, great. We got the shot. You know, you proved that your gnarliness. I have no doubt that you are fully worthy to be on this team. You're way hard. You're a much harder skater than I am, or I will ever be. God bless you.
Right.
And then like he goes back up the staircase, and I'm like, what are you doing, dude? Like, have you not experienced enough pain? Your ankles are swelling, dude. Can you chill? And he's like, I'm gonna board slide this handrail. And I'm like, oh my God, dude, really? And he's like, yeah, I'm gonna board slide this handrail. I think I can do it. Then he rolls up to it like 3 or 4 times, and I'm like, oh God, this is happening, dude. So I get in the street and I get an angle. I'm like, this is gonna be crazy. First few times, like he clips the last kink on the end, like gaps the whole rail, but just clink, like will like tap just the end of it in a board slide,
Yeah,
and
just
like
overshoots it a little bit.
and hits and just full on rolls into the street.
God damn.
He does it like 3 or 4 times, and then on the 5th one, he hits the whole rail, and he nails the thing. He nailed it, and I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it.
We're gonna link back up with Nick, and we're gonna have him recreate that. Right, like in his current state, 10, 8, 9 years later.
I think we've actually
On the anniversary.
I've talked to him about this, and he says I don't think that's like physically possible anymore. Like,
I don't know. He's been climbing, man. He's probably getting strong, dude.
I don't. You know what?
He'd probably do it.
I think he probably would do it. He just
Donate to the GoFundMe to give Nick $1,000 to do it again.
he would
Link
try.
Link in the description.
I'll do that for 1,000. So
Won't
like,
even cover the bandages in the medical bill.
bro, I wouldn't be surprised. But I remember after that, like, and then we brought Nick on to ride the Kanthaka too. You
I
remember?
remember I was watching the 18 Cubits video, but we
was great.
we were still talking about the Fattail. Actually,
Yes.
hold on. Quick pause. Check that camera.
I have to. I didn't set the timer.
Yeah,
again.
I realize that. So I'm looking at the thing right now. So you watch Nick. Nick was doing this crazy shit on the Fattail. Dusty was bombing it, and then were you riding the Fattail when all this was going down?
No, I was not actually. At the time, I was riding like the Dervish Sama, which had the double kicks,
Right.
and I was
that.
like into top mounting that, and like
Eee.
it was gross, dude.
I mean, to each their own, but also
I would do a lot of weird things. I also I was riding like skiffs.
no, skiffs didn't exist.
Skiffs didn't
At
exist.
that time, they did not exist. I
Well, no, that
guarantee.
was later. Later, I was riding skiffs, but like
You mean just in general? Okay.
yeah, purple skiffs on like 180 Parises on like a
I
top
remember that, and I
mounted.
blame myself for that because I was like, "Dude, you should try these wheels because they like just came out, you know." And I was like, "Yeah, man, they're actually super fun."
And I
And you're
was
like,
like,
"Dude,
"Whoa,
this is
this
like
is
the
so
best
great."
dancing wheel
And you
ever."
were like, "What have I done?"
And your board just—I don't know. It looked like a hammerhead shark,
Heinous, dude.
like but the skeleton of one.
This is the ugliest
it was
thing ever.
truly
dude.
atrocious.
I remember that era.
I
And
remember-
everybody hated
I remember
that setup.
hating shooting any content with you on that setup
It was so hideous.
because it looked like I photoshopped the wheels to be smaller.
It was just, yeah, everybody would post the meme clips of like those like Cadillacs like on like hydros with like little Dayton wheels on there, like tiny little like Dayton
Oh
wheels.
yeah, okay. You still see those?
I see those all the
They're
time.
around. They're mid city, man. There's a whole block that has like I don't know 7 of them.
But yeah, Nick was definitely the catalyst for the Fattail because after I saw him riding the Fattail, after I saw him doing like those crazy ollies and like Nick was doing like kick flips on the Fattail and stuff, which was like, it was just this style of skateboarding that was like way more street, but like the way he was like applying it to the Fattail was just so interesting to me that like I'd never seen that board manhandled the way Nick.
And so seeing these street tricks, which you apparently had been turned off of,
Truly.
how did it make you enjoy something like the Fattail coming from the Dervish?
Well, because I was like, yo, dude, I want a piece of that. I want to try what Nick's doing on the Fattail because that looks so cool. The way he was like board sliding, like he would just go up and like board slide like ledges and stuff on the Fattail, but just the way he just treated it so
Nick is getting the fattest shout out ever.
truly because I skated with him for a while. Him and I like hung out for a while. We'd go shoot photos. I have a whole photo series I did with Nick in downtown LA in my like arts district area. And him and I would just, I think he was like, yeah, because it was like, we would go skate around and, but I remember it was because I went and I started riding the Fattail because of that. And then I started, immediately started like doing more flat ground stuff on the Fattail and realizing like, oh, whoa, this thing has so much feedback that I didn't realize before. Mm-hmm. And then I was like, whoa, this is actually pretty cool. There's something here. Like, especially with like cross steps and like Peter Pan stuff, the response, the like energy response you'd get out of each step when the board would like compress as you lean into it,
right,
was addictive. And I had never felt that on any other loaded board. Maybe the Tantian a little bit.
Yeah, but it being dropped through,
but not as much. Yeah. So I felt that on the Fattail for the first time, and I was like, what the fuck is this, dude? And I had to just keep going with that. I was like, I got to keep trying this. I got addicted to this like energy response I'd get from when you lean into the carves. And then I got into this like, weird like preloading thing where you'd like kind of sink into the steps more than you would because the camber would just absorb everything.
And then it would shoot you right back out.
And it was just like, oh my God, dude.
I mean, if you're coming from like any sort of like stiff downhill board or whatever, you just kind of, you don't get that.
Oh my God.
You could try to replicate that with some springy bushings, but it's in the board.
It was in the board. And then I think that was right around the time the nipples were being developed. And we were
those like came out at the same time. I remember.
We were just starting to develop the nipples, and I was like starting to throw the nipples into like Paris 180s on the Fattail because what I wanted to do was originally the Fattail was spec'd with the 150s,
right?
And I wanted to get that same like planted feel that I would get from like when I had the Dervish with the 180s. So right. I basically took my trucks and I just took them off the Dervish and put them on the Fattail as is 180s, purple nipples, and was like, let's give this a shot. And oh my God, dude, that energy response was like addictive. I was like, I'm going to ride this all the time. So initially I thought it was like, this was a great flatland board, but this is impossible to do any free riding on. Like there's no way. But then I took it to a hill and it was like, no way you can free ride this thing. And I'm like, this is stupid. This is so small and so I mean, people are going to go crazy. Like this is like
There's a secret here. I gotta tell
something.
everyone.
There is something in that board that I think that needed to just, if you really unlocked it, it was like, oh my God, there's like a real flavor here that is so cool.
I mean, it's like the kind of board that, you put your input into it and then it responds.
Yes, truly.
Like you ask it basically a question and it answers, It doesn't just obey orders. So there's this like dynamic that gets created between you as a rider and then your board is an extension of your body, but its own separate entity.
It was just a very responsive board that I hadn't experienced, like I guess an energy give back like
Right.
that, like, the boards like the Icarus and stuff like that were like more camber based boards were not really.
Icarus was in a special wheelhouse,
Yeah, truly. But like the only other board that was like that was like the Vanguard, but the Vanguard didn't have any kicks. So like,
and it had the waist, so it was super narrow in the middle. Doing
Right.
Peter Pans was kind of hard, especially with the wider
kind of
trucks.
funky.
Yeah.
And then there was like the Bongra, which was the opposite, which
It's a completely different kind of flex.
was a totally different, like soggy kind of flat,
I think the progressive word is damp.
dampening.
Yeah, damp.
I didn't like that at all. I really didn't like it. I mean, I tolerated it, but like it didn't vibe with me because I didn't get anything out of I felt like I was constantly working to keep the board going.
Right. I mean, the amount of energy you're getting back from that kind of flex it's just not that much.
And then when
you
I
have
was
to do a lot more work.
Yeah, right. And then you saw, again, this goes back to the video that you were talking about, like where I was experimenting with more incline oriented stuff. So when I was living in downtown, there wasn't that many like hills around per se, that it was like more, I needed that same energy feeling to like get more out of basically the flat ground, all the flat area I had around me,
Right.
So the camber worked really well. And that's when I really started experimenting with the Fattail. And then it was like, that was right around the same time when Adam Colton, I got my loaded video where it
Los
was
Pobladores.
yes, this video
Dude,
dropped.
that video was so good.
It was so cool.
It was it was a part of LA I'd like never been to, like
Yes,
downtown.
a
I always
lot
go
of
to
people-
Malibu and Santa Monica and Venice, the West Side, but
the Arts District.
seeing that,
Yeah, the LA
I was
River.
like, whoa, it's actually kind of sick over there.
Yeah,
even though it's
really weird.
coated in a fine layer of particleized feces.
And brake dust and
Yes.
like truck fumes, diesel fumes.
Right.
I mean, it's a unique zone, but that's like where I grew up,
Right. I mean,
And
full circle. Yeah.
so I don't know. I was just like trying to bring the skateboarding thing to that zone, my flatland flavor to that like weird.
So, like,
Industrial zone.
at this point, you were pretty well known in the local community and probably the community at large.
I think
what was like people's general reaction to seeing you roll up to an event
It
that
was-
was supposed to be for a free ride board? Like, it needs to be stiff and all this other stuff. And
It was the cross-legged
stiff
slide,
bushings.
dude. It was the pretzel slide, the lady killer. I didn't call it that. Okay, that was something.
Well, that's what it was called.
That's what it was deemed by, I think, the elders who had come up with the trick.
It was by.
It was Adam Colton and someone else had come up, but Adam's buddy had come up with the trick.
I don't think so, because the Seishun, a weird ass brand from Canada,
Yes, right.
they did a trick tip. I feel bad not remembering their names, but the two dudes did a trick
remember
tip on
Seishun,
the
dude.
lady killer, and I remember being like, "That is just an impossible trick. You got to be like 6 foot."
GMAC, you remember GMAC? George
McKenzie, dude.
George McKenzie used to do
Hold
that
up,
trick.
dude.
That guy used to do that trick. There was like
That's
three.
crazy because I mean he had shorter legs than me, and I like wrote it off.
There
as
was
like that's a tall person
three
trick.
people I had ever seen do that trick. The first person I ever saw do that trick was this guy at a slide jam. He's gonna see this video, and I'm gonna get like some hate mail or something.
Oh, I'm gonna put your phone number in the
This is
description.
gonna be
He can text
beautiful.
you. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh.
We gotta check.
Oh yeah, that's our alarm.
Hold on.
So this photo that you're witnessing right now is a photo that has always inspired me, and I hope you very much enjoy it. Oh, hello again. Thank you if you're still here or you're just joining us. Yeah, we were going a bit on a tangent here, but Ari started riding the Fattail, and he's in downtown LA again at his roots, and just filmed the Los Pobladores. He has $1 million in his bank account at this point, and is driving a Maserati, but he hired a driver to drive it for him because he's balling that hard.
Living in a warehouse above a warehouse that would like liquidate like overstock items in underneath the 10 freeway in downtown.
That was a great spot, dude.
It was a wonderful spot.
It was so good.
It was sandbox mode.
I remember the first time coming over to your place. You're like, yeah, I'm DJing. Like, you should come over. And I go to your place, and I was living in a big house in Oregon at the time, like super cheap.
Am I gonna get killed?
No, not even. I was like, cool, like whatever. There's like sketchiness, whatever. I don't really care. And I remember walking in and just like looking around and being like, where do you sleep? Like, where's the rest of your place? Not realizing it's like a studio apartment. And I opened the door to the bathroom thinking it's like another room. And I was like, oh, it's a bathroom. Like, where the hell does Ari sleep?
Where is he sleeping?
Is this just like, does he have like another unit or something like that?
His sofa bed, that IKEA
and
sofa
then
bed
that one couch.
was lovely, dude.
Yeah. I remember it kind of blew my mind.
My ex-girlfriend hated that thing because it was like wedged like a V, and everybody would just roll into
Oh, dude, it promoted togetherness and love.
Yes, I guess
snuggles.
you could say that.
Yeah.
But living in downtown was really crazy, and I remember that that was where that was right around the same time that I was developing the pretzel slide. You know, that trick came out in the Pobladores video, and that was definitely one that kind of we good? Everything good? Sorry,
I had to check the other camera because it's just Ari and I here.
Yeah, we don't have a film crew.
Yeah, we don't have me running the cameras in the background.
Yeah, we're serving the drinks and flying the plane at the same time.
That's right, baby. Don't worry, the autopilot works pretty
Full
good.
service.
I trust your
service.
camera that's on you, but not
Full service.
not this thing.
Oh, let me go ahead and do this thing here.
Nah, we should probably. I mean,
Wrap
as fun
it
as
up.
this is, we should probably start wrapping this up. We got to get to gel lab.
Damn, it is almost gel lab time.
Your clock is an hour ahead, but it's getting close to 11.
It's almost gel lab time. Okay. Let me just make this little mention of this like cross, because we were talking about the lady killer pretzel slide kind of deal.
It's called a lady killer.
Okay, well whatever. I don't like that. I don't like that. I don't like.
I mean,
I
yeah,
like
at the
killing.
time, it's a little
I don't
misogynist.
like killing ladies, dude.
It's a little misogynist, sure.
It's not about.
But it's
I'm
a
not
product
about
of its
that.
time, all right?
I like pretzel. Sounds way more appetizing.
I mean, it does. Yeah, okay, all right. Well,
I'll
give you that.
I just get fond memories of
Every
like
time you did it was a caramel
cinnamon mall pretzels when I think about that. You know.
Oh, man, don't even get me started.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
Dude. I went to Wetzel's literally like 3 days ago. This is so off topic. So
Anyway,
good.
yes, tangents.
Tangent to the tangent. All right. Go
Tangent Town. So I remember there was an early slide jam in SB. Santa Barbara used to have this Santa Barbara slide jam that used to happen like every year.
I remember seeing that and being so jealous.
There's
like, I want to go to that.
I have a photo of all of us, like a group shot of all the finalists for that slide jam, and it's like there's like a baby Liam Morgan in there. There's like there's so many riders that are all of us are like tiny. Like we're all like hee hee hee, like no wrinkles. Like everybody's.
Well, that's how time works.
It's just a bunch of children.
Every photo is of people when they were younger.
It's
It's like, wait, you're telling me Liam was little in a photo from like 12 years ago?
it's just good. It's a great shot.
That makes no sense. He's ripped now. Was he ripped?
he was a child. We were all children, okay? But anyway, so we're at this slide jam, and I remember I had never seen that move before, and this guy comes down the hill, and I remember he did this trick, and I'm like, wow, oh my God, dude, I gotta learn that trick. Like, if I learned that trick, I could do that at a slide jam. Like, that would
just like this.
That would just be the.
I would be on podium.
That would be so dope, you know.
Your own selfish.
So I'm
goals.
thinking like, you know, like, oh man, you know, like, and I could put that in a video, and like I could take that trick, you know, like I could make that my own, and like I kept thinking like, man, I really gotta learn that trick. So I like went back like a year for a full year. I like blood, sweat, and tears. I put my heart and soul into learning that trick, and I got it. Finally, I got it, and then I got it on some hills, and I got it proficiently. I remember homies telling me like, "Man, dude, when you put that in a video, like, dude, that's just gonna be on. People gonna freak out. No one does that trick. Like, no one does that trick. Trick's so hard to do." I'm like, "Okay, yeah, cool." I'm like, "I know this guy does that trick, but you know." So I'm like,
but it's mine now, and I've always done
fast forward, Los Pobladores comes out like, "Oh, I'm doing this trick, and I think this is like a while later. It's just like the San Pedro shred. Do you remember that jam?
Yeah. So what, like 2014 then? Yeah.
Fantastic event. Probably one of the best slide jams I've ever been to.
Yeah.
It was closed off. There was like pedestrians watching. The city went into it.
Car in the middle of the
Volvo that was like
that you
spray
could air
painted
over and stuff.
with they put the roof rack with the flat thing on
I
it.
only
with
went
the
to the second
kicker.
one, but it was still
They had
so sick.
that wall ride that they built on the side of the hill out of wood. It was incredible. That was amazing, truly amazing. And I remember I'm at that slide jam, and I'm at the they had the pro hill where you had to have a sponsor and a little wristband to even skate on that hill.
Oh man,
which is so dope.
Wow,
made you feel like $1 million.
Which you had at the time. Yeah.
Yes.
We went over this. Yeah.
Yes, my countless riches.
Right.
And I remember I was on the hill and I'm doing the slides. I'm doing my tricks. I'm going up on a wall ride. I'm like, yeah, and all these people are watching. I'm like, I'm gonna try my pretzel slide. Here we go. I do my move. And people, whoa, yeah! People freaking out, and big, ego check, or ego boost, and you're like, yeah, I'm walking up the hill. I'm coming. Everybody's walking back. People are like high-fiving you, just walking up the hill. Just like people. The place was so cool. It was like
there was like actual spectators. Like non.
You just felt really like a superhero because you're like doing these things, and people are like high-five. Hey man, that was really cool. And some guy pushes his way through the crowd and goes, Hey man, you stole my move.
No way.
You stole my move. And I'm like, what? I'm looking over, and this guy is like, kind of like, he's behind, like walking behind people. He's like, yeah, I know you, dude. You stole my move. That was my trick, man. You stole my move. I saw you do that pretzel slide, lady killer slide. I did that slide. SB. I remember. I did that right in front of you, dude. Remember? He like straight up called me out, and I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about, man. Like, I don't know. And like, I'm really like,
too funny.
Oh man, that's that dude, man. He knows. He knows. You stole my move, man.
I'd never see him again.
In all the videos and shit, like you were doing that move, man. I did that move originally.
I want my cut.
That was my move, man. And I'm just like, I don't know who that guy is, man. I'm gonna walk on the other side of the hill.
Gunning for that bank account of yours. Man, my wife left me after she saw that. You do that trick in Los Pobladores. Now I live on this hill now, and I ain't even sponsored.
No, I'm bro.
Wow, that is.
Okay.
I mean, that's kind of weird to be like, here's a thing that is, humanly possible, and it is mine now. You can't do that.
It was just, I just thought it was really funny. I mean, I never claimed,
he should have
I never
copyrighted it,
claimed that I was the owner of that trick. It was just funny because like I was doing it in a lot of the loaded videos, and loaded videos got a lot of coverage. So like everybody's like, Ari's doing that trick, man.
I'm gonna put a little card right here in the video where you can click back a couple minutes ago when Ari's like, I'm gonna make that mine. It's gonna be my trick. I'm gonna fact check you on live.
Well, I'm gonna get an envelope full of like anthrax or something, dude.
Please, angry man, if you're listening to this now
dude.
and you want to fight Ari,
I'm sure somebody's gonna reach out. This guy's gonna see this and be like, "That's me."
That dude is still on that hill right now.
Receding hairline. He's just like
steam. He's just been pacing back and forth for the past like 8 years. Like, I can't believe he did it. I can't believe he stole my trick.
Doing pull-ups with like "Kill Ari" tattooed on his knuckles. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Training.
Just a huge face tat of a mural of just different ways of killing you.
Training for the moment when he gets his opportunity. Like, I'm gonna get that trick. I'm gonna make that trick mine again. I'm gonna find him.
Get my wife back.
I'm gonna get my kid back.
All right. In all seriousness,
and that's why I started riding the Fattail.
All right. Well, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. But unfortunately, I don't even know if my camera's still rolling. And if it isn't, enjoy this photo. And if it is,
It is
then
still
you're looking
rolling.
at me.
I trust it's rolling.
I trust nothing about this camera. But we're going to have to conclude this episode. Thank you for watching. We got to get going to the gel lab and consume more caffeine. We got stuff to film. In fact, you can watch the footage of the video, part of the video that we're going to be shooting tonight by clicking this link right here. The camera's probably off, and so we're gone. Bye.
See you guys.
Hell yeah, little fan.
Still rolling.
I'm gonna steal this little fan.
Still rolling.
This little fan is my.
You like that little fan? Dude, you came in initially, you were hating on it.